with secrets that it keeps us torn longer now. I wish that I could wrap my arms around this moment. If only I was stronger so I didn't ever have to let it get away. I'm by your side, staring at the fire on a starry night. I know it isn't always gonna burn this bright. Is time on our side? Well, let's pretend, 'cause I don't want this moment to end.
The whole gang is here.
We did it.
We did it, guys. How are you guys doing? Ryanhood.
That's right. We're doing good.
Look at you guys. Look at you guys in your separate compounds. Where are you guys right now? Where are you guys located?
We're coming to you from Tucson, Arizona right now.
Nice.
Dry, warm, beautiful, sunny Tucson, Arizona.
Listen, Arizona is I love Arizona. It's a beautiful place. Last year we had a chance to go to Sedona. Life-changing.
It's
Absolutely.
so beautiful. Yes. All right. So where are you coming? All of your listeners know, but can you tell us where you're coming to us from right now?
From Music City, Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah. All right.
Yes,
Great.
absolutely, guys. And we love the kind of stuff that you guys play around here. So, guys, welcome. Just to introduce you guys to my audience, of course, we have Cameron Hood in vocals and Ryan David Green, guitarist, composer, producer, instructor.
Yep.
Ryan Hood coming to us live. So happy to have you guys. You guys are not, just to introduce you guys quickly to my audience, if they don't know you, a great, acoustic folk pop duo, from Tucson, like you guys say.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have toured the world several times, shared stages with people like Train, Jason Mraz, Matt Kearney, and of course, latest album, Under the Leaves.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's actually we're really getting pulled into the fun of how close it is. And we have a pretty fun weekend planned where we're going to do a few shows, outdoor shows that are with a string quartet and because we have strings on a lot of this new record. So it's just going to be a beautiful, the shows are called Under the Leaves, Under the Stars. So it should be a beautiful weekend we're looking forward to.
Amazing. Yeah, we had a chance to preview the album, guys. And some of these songs, I mean, Gone Before I Go, Morning Breakup, just heartfelt songwriting, great production. Like, you guys just nailed it. We really enjoyed it, guys.
Thank you.
I'm glad to hear that.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Absolutely. So let's start with this, guys. Let's start a little bit with your early life, just to get the genesis of where you guys come from. So, Ryan, you're from Tucson, Arizona. And you first picked up the guitar, as the legend says, at age 12, and you never put it down. How did that guitar come into your life?
It was given to, so I played trumpet when I was 11 from a garage sale trumpet. It was a cornet actually, but sort of a smaller trumpet. And then the next year my grandma said, how would you feel about playing guitar? And I said, yes, I would like to do that. So she took me to a music shop and bought me a nylon string guitar, a classical guitar, and then took it back and said, all right, you'll get it at Christmas. I think it was who knows what time of year it was. Probably November, but it felt like a lifetime I had to wait to get that guitar actually in my hands on Christmas Day. And I played the classical guitar for a couple of months, but pretty quickly moved into an electric guitar. My teacher at the time was very into shreddy electric players. He was kind of a 80s rocker, so my nylon string wasn't cutting it, and so I started playing contemporary stuff on electric, and then eventually found my way back to an acoustic with Ryanhood.
Amazing. But it sounds like you just never let it off your arm. Like, just on research, it sounds like Eddie Van Halen, who used to say that he would eat cereal with one hand and like have the guitar on the other,
Practice tapping with his other hand, right? Cereal in one hand and then tapping the guitar with the other.
I'm grateful that I played, like I wasn't back when I started, I didn't have social media and things like that to distract. It was just all I did. You get home from school and play guitar the whole time. I did, once I turned 16, I got a car, got my first girlfriend. I didn't play
Right.
all the time then. I actually, hung out with people, but I still have just my most frequent memory is like a guitar in my hands. If I'm on the phone with somebody, my ear leaning on the phone while the
Nice.
guitar is in my hands. So it's a fun thing.
I love it. I love it. And Cameron Hood, you're a musician in your own right. Do you come from a musical family? Like, were
I
your parents artists? What's your background there?
Yes, absolutely. So my dad and aunt and uncle played in a band right when I was born. And so I think within the first year of my life, I went with them and my mom on a tour. So they like toured bars and clubs, and they mostly played covers and that kind of thing, but literally like a baby at the breast in these rock clubs with my mom while my dad was playing. And yeah, they always played covers, but always wished that they could play original songs and would try to sneak them in. But the club owners would always be like, "Oh, you gotta come on, stick
Yeah.
with what
Play
we want,"
Freebird. Right.
Right, exactly that, exactly that. And so when I was just learning guitar, my dad taught me my first couple chords, and when I was learning, he was like, always play originals. Like if you start down the covers route, you're gonna need to keep playing covers. But if you
Right.
start now with originals, so as like a 13 and 14-year-old, I was already writing my own songs because that's what he and my aunt and uncle told me to do, and I just was too naive to think that they weren't awesome.
Yeah.
My first couple songs, I'm like, these must be really great and everyone should hear them, because I was just too naive to know any better.
That's crazy. And I did want to ask you about your songwriting because it's spectacular. So you started at 13. That
Thank you.
makes sense. That makes sense. Do you wow. So were you like writing poems, writing stories back then? Like what was like the mindset?
I think the beginning is just copying other artists, just trying to write things that sound like them, the people that I looked up to, which at
Yeah.
the time that was the Beatles, and that was Weezer, and that was Green Day and Nirvana and
Pretty good.
Buddy Holly, and to a lesser extent like Pink Floyd, just trying to write things that sounded like them. All of my turns of phrase, my lyrical turns of phrase, were exactly like the people that I looked up to,
Yeah.
and I probably didn't even know what those things meant at the time. I was just trying to sort of feel my way into that new world. But then slowly you start to have relationships, you get a little bit of experience, and then more of those turns of phrase become your own, And then you go through your first heartbreak, and then it's really coming from your own place. And little by little, I think I stopped just trying to copy the people I loved and actually found my own voice. But absolutely, it takes time, and you first start by writing like everyone, that all of your heroes.
It's unbelievable, guys. Your story is amazing because it's incredible that the universe put you together because you're both so good in your own lanes. You just complement each other like amazing. And the fact that you guys went to the same high school makes the story even crazier,
That is crazy.
right?
Yeah. I remember saying to Ryan one time, we were out on tour and we were in Virginia, and this is deep into our career together, but I just looked over at him and I was like, I'm so glad I met you. Like,
Yeah.
and it was a profound moment to have with my friend and my bandmate after already being together in a band for over 10 years at that point. But the weight of it just finally hit me, that like we didn't have to be in the same high school together. We didn't have to share that one jazz band class, together where we first started playing. And I'm just so lucky that we did, because our particular strengths complement each other. The ways I'm strong are not the same places that Ryan is strong, and where I'm weak, Ryan is really strong. So we have this really interesting partnership that I'm so proud of.
Yeah, and it definitely
Feel
comes
grateful
across in
for.
the album. I mean, and that's why you guys have been, celebrated by WFUV New York and featured at Australia's National Folk Festival. Like everyone loves you guys, critics alike, and everyone I play you guys too, because that's why the chemistry is on point.
Mm,
Absolutely. So
thank you.
Ryan, let me ask you about the high school days for a second, because you guys like battled each other in like a battle of the bands kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, when we started out in high school, so we were a grade apart, which it's hilarious as adults. Like a year apart is very good, but in high school, well, a grade apart just kind of felt like, all right, he was in a
Yeah.
different scene than I was, and we each had a band, and we each really like wanted to prove ourselves. I don't know if that's a normal feeling for everybody in high school, or if that's because we had a band and or what. But I wanted to be the band in the school, and he wanted to be the coolest band in the school. And so when there was this battle of the bands, and we got to sort of square off, it was more than just the two of our bands. There are probably a dozen bands in it each year, and yeah, that first year, his band won. The second year we came back and we
Mm,
won, and the third year, his senior year, he won once again and graduated and dropped the mic. And I never had a chance
Amazing.
to even the score,
Yeah.
but really it was after that, right after uh, in the senior year of high school, that we kind of broke broke the ice and admitted to each other that we actually had a really great admiration for each other. That
It's
he
crazy.
was, I was the kind of lead guitar guy, showy lead guitar guy, following, trying to play like my heroes, Joe Satriani and guys like that, and he
Hmm.
was really like. What stuck out to me was his ability as a frontman and as a
Yeah.
songwriter, and so it just became clear to me, like, hey, I would really like to be the lead guitarist to your to this guy. Like, this would be a
Interesting.
really good pairing.
yeah.
Because I think you guys were going after the same market in the high school. Because sometimes when we talk to like bands and stuff that had like a bunch of musical talent in their school, there were different lanes, right? You got
Yeah.
the people who were going after the metal girls and the 80s spray, and then you had like but you guys were like the cool indie, like get on board early band lane, I feel like.
I love that interpretation, although I'm not sure it's totally true. I like that you're like, you guys were the cool indie guys in your high school. I don't know. Like Ryan had long hair and a ponytail, and he wore sunglasses like while he played, and was just sort of a tall,
We
lanky glass
wanted
of
to be
water. And
cool. I mean, we
we
wanted to
wanted
be.
to be cool,
We were
right?
going for exactly with what you're saying. But I think on.
But
But
in
if you looked at
reality,
us,
right?
we were not quite. We had not achieved Bono level of.
Not yet. I was still wearing like sandals with socks, I think, at my first shows. So
Right.
it took us a little while to grow into that.
Amazing, guys. All right, let's fast forward a little. I mean, your story is great, guys. I'm sorry I'm recapping it, but it was just so fascinating.
That's great. That's
So
great.
we go to Boston. I mean, you guys obviously go to Berkeley, which is one of the best, if not the best, music schools in the world. But the part that is fascinating here is the busking, right? I love that you guys busked there on Quincy Market
Hmm.
in Boston. And I mean, I'm fascinated by the whole thing, guys. So I'm sure there were days, first of all, that, Cameron, that you guys were mentally and physically just exhausted, but like you go through the discipline, right? Did busking
Yeah.
make you and train you to be like the musician that you are today?
I think in many ways it did. It did two things. The first is that you have to learn to grab a crowd. There's no crowd when you start, right? It's just people walking by buying a lobster roll or, buying something from a shop nearby. And your job is to pull them into a show and let them know in advance that they're going to have a really great time if they tune in. So we learned all of these things about how you create a show, how you have confidence in front of people, what you need to do to draw attention. And I would always be the one to draw people in, with my big voice and loud, wide gestures. And then they would stay once they heard Ryan play, because he's always been a really serious player. So the first thing was kind of how to manage a show. And the second thing that I think we learned was that we are made or broken based on how we interact with each other. So on the hardest days where things weren't working and no one was stopping to watch us, if we took that out on each other, the whole thing didn't work, right? If you're
Right.
feeling bad, you feel like no one's listening and you start to blame each other, you get nowhere. But if on the other hand, you become the one ally that the other guy has, right? He was the one guy that would have my back and that could help lift me up if I was just feeling too tired. And the same, I would be the one guy who would have his back. We kind of learned early that if you blame each other, it's not going to work, right? If you start fighting, it's not going to work. But if you can somehow be the one other person in the world in this moment who has the other one's back, then you can make it. And I think that's something that we've really tried to hold on to and nurture since then. It takes work, but I think we've
Sure.
really nurtured that, being that kind of person for each other.
Oh man, that's awesome. And Ryan, you're playing there one day, one of your gigs, busking, and you're spotted by a college booking agent. And he approaches you guys. Like, so Ryan, what's like your take here? Like, is this guy for real? Did you know him? Were there a
Yeah.
lot of just like charlatans in the area? Like, what was your thought?
No, we didn't know him, but it was, we had been looking into doing college touring, and so it actually, we got an email. It was interesting because it was from Clear Channel College Booking Agency, and obviously we know Clear Channel being this mega huge company. So at
Sure.
first I was like, they had a branch called Tea Party Concerts that was like their booking agency. I was a little skeptical at first because of how large of a name that was.
Right.
But we followed up with them, and they were. I had already had my eye on thinking the college market would be a good market for us at that point, and so it really was just a nice timing, and they were able to kind of help out with it, get somebody on our team, and not have to do it alone like we were at that point. So
Right.
it was great.
Amazing. Amazing. It just flowed. Let's transition here to the new album for a second, guys, because it really was like we've heard it like almost 3 times. We were on the third listen, almost got to the third listen. We loved it more every time, more layered. So Cameron, let's start with the songwriting, because the Cameron is pristine. It is just fascinating. A song like Seeing in the Dark, that's a strong song, Cameron. That's a strong
beautiful
song. So I have to ask you, like, does the songwriting for a song like this one, does it come easy to you? Like, I ask because for some artists, I mean, Billy Joel still said the other day in an interview that when he's in front of a piano, when he's starting a new song, he looks at it like a shark with teeth. It's still uncomfortable. So a song like this, how do you abort a strong song like this?
Yeah, let me actually throw that one over to Ryan for this one, because he's the primary songwriter on this one, and I'm interested to know. It seemed like it kind of just started to flow out this particular time, didn't it, Ryan?
Yeah. There are plenty of songs that is the case where you do have to really wrestle with it for quite a while to kind of refine it, and because I see the YouTube poster there behind you, and we're both big fans of theirs too. I feel like that's the story with a lot of their stuff, right? They work it for a long time until they get to this this amazing.
Too long if you ask us, right?
Too long, but where they get to is a place nobody else gets to. It's amazing. So sometimes the songs are like that, but the song "Seeing in the Dark" was written at night, getting out of bed. Couldn't sleep, and started playing a guitar, and it just it sort of wrote itself, most of it, and it was those are gifts when that happens, when I had the music out. Cameron is really our primary lyricist, so it's not often that I get a lot of lyrics pouring out of me, and in that case the feelings just needed to come out, and they did, and then I got together with Cameron and we wrote the chorus for it together. But yeah, that one's a gift when it just kind of flows out. That's maybe the like Tom Petty side of writing, where I hear him talk about that. He writes a song and says he feels like he didn't write the song, like it was given to him. It was channeled through him. He's very has this sense of gratitude for it. Like, wow, I got to sort of channel this thing. And in a way, I feel like that's how I feel about that one, Seeing in the Dark.
It seemed like we had to. Like that, the body of that song came out in maybe minutes, over the course of a half hour as you were writing it that night, and then finishing it took the next 2 years, right? Writing the chorus and sort of finishing the chorus and all the rest of the melodies and stuff took so much work, kind of writing the rest of that and arranging it. But the seed of that was just like all at once, it seemed like.
Amazing. And Cameron, is that like the anomaly, or like? I don't know. You strike me like, tell me if I'm wrong. We're just fascinating by this writing process here. Are you like, okay, Ryan, I am going tomorrow and Thursday, 9 to 5. No, nobody bother me. I'm gonna write stuff, like very academic, or is this kind of the norm? What we just discussed, like you just get these random ideas.
I think it's more like what we just discussed, and I think it happens for me pretty similarly, actually, which is that there's an element of it that seems to come from, for me anyway, there's an element that seems to come from somewhere else. It's almost always a small element. It's not like the whole thing is just delivered, but it's something that's a melody that really moves me, or a metaphor. I'm big on words, and so the right metaphor to describe something will just seem to come from absolutely nowhere, and I'll get maybe 1/3 of the song, and I'll just be like, I have this thing, and that's like the art. It's the spirit. It comes from somewhere else, and you grab it and you hold on to it. And then as an artist, then you have to take time and go, I'm willing to work this. I'm willing to put time in. Monday from 8 until 2, the best of my time, I'm going to put towards filling out the second 2/3 of that song.
Nice.
That part just takes work. The first part seems to come from somewhere else, and then the second part seems like you just pour yourself into it, and there's a discipline, like you said. You work it, you turn it, you find the best rhyme you possibly can. You see if you can beat the rhymes that you already have. That kind of thing. I call that part the craft, so that you get the art out of nowhere. It just appears, and it's a tiny bit of it, and then you have to spend the rest of the time working your craft on it to try to build it. build it out.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. And Ryan, this was your first foray into like producing an album, right?
Yeah, pretty much. When we first started, uh, in one of our earliest albums, I did, but that was very collaborative. That was when I was at Berkeley, and there were a lot of other musicians who kind of contributed equally on that one. But this was one where Cameron sort of gave me the keys to that and said, "Hey, go for it. Like, follow your full vision on this. We have these songs, but take it exactly where you want to take it." And so it was really, that's where my passion is. Cameron's greatest passion, he talked about how we're complementary, and his greatest passion lies in probably in lyrics and a message and the what the song is saying. Yep. And so he'll lay, I have many memories being on tour together in our hotel beds and looking over at his bed, and he's just got the glow of his phone as he's editing lyrics, editing songs that I thought were done. He's continuing to refine and find improve the adjective or the metaphor.
My craft,
But so this was an album, and because we were off the road with the pandemic, I had the time to, without a deadline on it, to really bring the mood and the emotion of each song exactly where I wanted it. So that's what moves me about music is, I keep mentioning U2. That might be a good example of it because they're a band where there's a lyric and a message.
Yeah.
But man, is there not like just a pure feeling involved? Like even if you didn't speak English and you listened to that music or went to a U2 concert and didn't know any of the words he was saying, you might be in tears because of the emotion of their music. And so that's my. That's what moves me the most, and that's what I tried to do with the production of this record, was really make people feel, maybe prime them emotionally for what was being said lyrically.
Well, mission accomplished. And the collection of the songs like is stronger than the individual parts, I feel like you guys did like a proper good album, which is more rare now.
Yes, like from start to finish, it's building on themes. It's not a full story, but there's like absolutely themes, songs that are talking to each other as it goes on. Yeah, I love that you picked up on that.
Absolutely, cool. Guys, absolutely. Well, you guys have been so generous with your time, but let me ask you about the live shows, because obviously you guys have been off the road for a while. But from what we could see online, you guys are amazing live performers, and what we could read from your fans, good bond there. And we were talking about all these people like Tom Petty and Bono and all this stuff, and it makes sense. You guys break that barrier with that on that barrier with the audience. Mm-hmm. What's the secret there, Cameron? Because you guys have a really cool connection in everything we saw in the synergy with the crowd.
So part of it must be the street performing part, but the other part must be that when I moved to Boston, Ryan sat me down and he's like, "This is something that you might like." So we sat on the couch. He has the TV ready and he puts a DVD in, and it's Live at Slane Castle, U2 Live at Slane Castle, and it blew my mind. I'd always loved U2. It was,
good one, Ryan.
Just a big part of, like, I love that band. I love how they made me feel, but I never had really seen something that well put together of them before, and I just was utterly blown away, because the crowd interaction, the running around on the big heart stage and all the way out, and just throwing his whole heart out into the audience that way. He runs laps and he goes, "I want to run," it's just utterly moving to me. And I think I've spent, all the years since then trying to, I think at first trying to capture that and do the same thing again. At first you imitate your heroes, and then at some point you just sort of bring it into you and you synthesize it and you find your own way. You find your own way of doing those things, your own voice. But there's something about just going, we could have an experience here together. And it starts with me being open, with Ryan and I being open on stage. We have to be the ones to make the first move. So you get on stage, you open your heart, you let the audience know, listen, you're in good hands right here. You don't have to take care of us right now. We've got this. We've got a good show. You can relax. And as we start to be more vulnerable and while letting them know that they're in good hands, they start to be vulnerable also, and they let down their guard. You see it physically. Their shoulders drop, the arms start to uncross. You see couples start to hold hands throughout the
Nice.
show, and that has to do with how we're conducting ourselves on stage, our willingness to be vulnerable, and how we treat each other. It's really important to Ryan and I to be kind to each other on stage, respectful. So we're modeling a kind of a community just between us that tells the audience this is a safe place where we can be kind and respectful to each other. And I see it, man. People start to relax and they really enter the show differently, than if they didn't feel, fully safe to do that. What do you think, Ryan? Any thoughts to add?
I mean, I think I agree with that. I think being a duo, we get to have Cameron and I are very relational on stage with each other. And I think in a way that it's even a little harder to do as a full band. And or at least we have the intimacy of the duo. And as a solo artist, it would be a little harder to establish that rapport with the audience. Basically, we have the advantage of being able to relate with one another on stage in a way that's usually there's humor, maybe some self-deprecation, but it's clear that we care for each other, and that generally opens the door for the same kind of relationship with the audience to happen.
Amazing,
and
guys.
like he's saying, they feel safe, and so I feel grateful to be able to be up on stage with Cameron.
I love it. And guys, listening to you this for the first time in a long time, I'm starting to feel like it doesn't even matter. Like it's not even worth saying, "Oh my God, do you guys miss the stage?" No, you know what? We're closer to the comeback, and it's so exciting that we're gonna get to experience the world shortly. Because man, people need to see Ryanhood live. It's gonna be in short order, in the fall. Things are opening back up, and people need to see you guys perform. This is going to be a really exciting period for you guys.
Let's do it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I appreciate
Absolutely.
You
so Ryan, let's leave it with this. There's a rumor on the street that you may perform "Wide Awake in a Dream" for us, or was that just a fake news?
No, is that just hearsay?
No, that's real news. That's real news. I heard
great.
that you might be open to that, so I thought I would do it
Lovely.
for you. Yeah,
lovely.
It's a song from the new record, and it's one that will. So normally, it's actually often very challenging for Cameron and I to play songs without one another. So he and I are not in the same room at the moment, and so we can't play it together. And we joke about that, is that we sometimes get requests for a song in some situation where we're away from the other, and we have to play some version that just is lacking. It doesn't have we don't have the vocal interplay or whatever, but. There are a couple songs from this new album. This is one of them that can survive
Fair.
Without it. Cameron was integral in the writing of it, but he has set me free to perform it. It's mostly me and a string quartet on the recording, and unfortunately we won't be able to get Cameron's harmonies today. But
we'll take it. We'll take it.
All right. This is "Wide Awake in a Dream." Lately I've been falling for you, but I can't fall asleep. Wide awake at night as I set the scene. You and me, wide awake in a dream. We wouldn't have to wake up on our own. As I'm staring at the ceiling, I see shapes and stars, like I'm painting you a work of art.
Yes.
What a beautiful song. So,
Yes.
Cameron, if this is the voice, are you pressing the button?
This is, oh my gosh, of course. Of course. Listen,
Beautiful. What a beautiful
wait,
song.
it's here's what's funny is we're so early in this album cycle that I haven't actually heard Ryan perform that solo without me yet, and I was just mesmerized. Also, in fact, I muted myself. Your listeners probably know, but we're doing this by Zoom, and so I can't remotely sing along with him because of the lag, of the internet and everything. So I just mute myself so I can sing harmony with him. But I just stopped partway through. And was like, he sounds so good right now.
So good. So, what a beautiful song. Wow.
Thank you.
Well, listen, Ryan, David Green, Cameron Hood, you guys have said it all. What a fantastic album that you guys have. Under the Leaves, April 16th. Listen, you guys are going to have an amazing year with this one. Congratulations. What a masterpiece.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. You. And we look forward to having you in Nashville.
All right, let's do it.
We'll come
all
see
right.
you.
See ya.
Peace.